Hello everyone, thank you for watching my channel, and again on another video. I just wanted to show you guys that I was blessed and honored to work on this sheet. It's from a person that his grandfather served in the World War II in the US, and I'm honored because I appreciate their effort, their lives, and everything they gave for our freedom. I really appreciate that, so I'm really glad I got to do this work. It's not even a job or work, it's something I was asked if I could do to replicate, to make it identical to the original sheet, and I agreed. Even though that later on you're gonna see that the color is different, but we'll get to that point after I do the template. Here I'm just cutting out the measurements for the template that I'm working on so that it matches exactly the width and the length of the original sheet. And here I'm just cutting the edges because where the blade goes in, it's a different thickness from the top where the loop belt is. And I'm gonna make this video, even though it's long, I'm gonna forward on some of the parts. This is not a tutorial, I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Happy to let you guys see, that I'm really happy to do this job because, like I said, I'm honored, and there's no words to express that fact that I was trusted with this item, this sheet, because I just feel good. It made me feel good that I was chosen to do this sheet from somebody that fought for our freedom. And here's already the template, just taking out all the measurements from the loops from the top belt and the neck of the knife so that I could replicate everything as close as possible to the original. And here's my knife. It's my 75-cent blade. I do have other ones that are better in the sense of, when I do other leather work, but as long as they're sharp enough, which I always sharp my blades to the max, they work really good. And this is for the neck of the blade, not the blade, the handle. And so far it's coming out really good. I'm really enjoying this sheet. And here's the snaps that I'm using for the handle to be clipped on the top, and it's 10 millimeters, exactly like the original. Here I'm just gonna skive some of the edges because the leather on this end, it's really thick, and in order for the snaps to set right, they need to be a little thinner than this. I'm using 4 ounces of leather, 3 to 4 ounces, but when I measure it, it's almost 4. So it's gonna be thicker than the original, just a little bit, but it'll last a lot longer. And once I'm set doing all the holes and skiving, and here's the British tan color that I picked as far as because it was the only thing close to brown, but I didn't feel right. But I finished at least the British tan color because I mentioned to the owner that I would do the replica as original as possible, and the color is nice, but I wasn't comfortable. So I just continued just dyeing it and see how it would look at the end. And I have fast forward most of the steps that are just time consuming, and this is not a tutorial. It's just the project that I'm doing that I'm glad that I'm still doing, and I don't know, there's so much I could say to express my satisfaction for doing this. And here it is already done. As far, it still looks a little darker because the ink needs to dry, and it's looking pretty good. Exactly, I took the measurements to look as close as possible to the original. And this is lunchtime. My son came to visit me, my younger son, so we went out to eat because I was starving, and he treated me to something really good, Korean barbecue. And now I'm back, and while we were after eating, he mentioned one of the stores that was close by to check out some of the dye and leather. I'm like, oh, I completely forgot about the store that we have close by. So I was able to get the original color, and it's looking a lot better than the British tan looks good, but this one, it's really close to the color of the original. So I'm glad that he mentioned and he took me there and bought the ink, leather dye. And here it is. The comparison looks exactly the same, even though the other one is worn out, but it's the same exact color. Now I just need to let it dry because it does look a little darker, but once it dries, it'll look a bit lighter. So I have all the pieces already cut out, dye, and ready to set the snaps and glue the parts together and start to put it all together. Here I'm just measuring the belt loop for the handle to make sure it's exactly even on both sides. And I'm putting a rivet in the middle just like the original. And it was, like I said, I'm so happy that I'm working on this. And as I mentioned, I'm forwarding most of the footage. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not a tutorial, but just a hobby that I do on the side. And here I'm just adding some of the leather sheen to protect and make it last longer. It gives it a matte finish at the end. And I do this through all the pieces, buff it off, and it's shiny but not too shiny. It's just the perfect matte so that it protects it and makes it look really nice. Hopefully the owner will be satisfied with this sheet because I know it means a lot to him, and I'm glad that, you know, I found the color because that made me uncomfortable. I was gonna order online the way I usually do, but it takes 3 to 4 weeks sometimes to just get one item. So thanks to my younger son for mentioning that store that I completely forgot we had there. And here I'm just, you know, finishing and burnishing the ends so that it doesn't look all nasty with the fuzzy leather that's always hanging out. So it's a process to make everything look smooth and sharp, and like I said, burnishing the edges, it's a big thing in leather. And here it is, ready just to set the final snap button so that I can put the rivet in the middle and set it on the sheet so that it's ready to be glued together and stitched. And there, it's almost done. It snaps pretty good, it's easy to open, and it should hold it pretty good for a long time. If you're interested in my other videos that are leather work, I got plenty of those videos. I got different playlists for plants, random things, some videos in Spanish. They're all separated, so you're more than welcome to check them out. And here, just ready to hammer down. Well, hammer time. And there it is. That's the final piece so that I'm able to start gluing the pieces together, and some that and then do the stitching at the end. And also do some of the leather sheen so that it's all even in color and protection overall. And after this, towards the end, I also do beeswax mixed with some oil so that it's water resistant. Not waterproof, but if it gets wet, it won't get damaged or the stitches will come undone. And it's I think it'll last a good lifetime or more than that, because the leather that I use, it's pretty good. It's from a good brand, and I'm not gonna say their name because I don't get sponsored, even though we have good communication with the company. But it's a US based leather company, and I'm happy with their leather because I get good discounts to do and buy quality leather and other items that I bought from them so that I could continue doing, just like I said, random things. My main thing is leather wallets, but you know, I've done belts, leather sheets, gun holsters, just about everything out there, but my main thing is leather wallets. And here it is, looking pretty good. Still a little darker, but it'll light up. And I'm gluing here just the bottom piece to the other side before I do the top sleeve for the blade. just making sure that all edges are even, so that later on I could just sand off all the excess and burnish it to the point where it looks all even, nice and neat. And here I'm just tracing the leather stitch line, which is the final step to finish the sheet. There's some rivets that were placed in there. I was thinking maybe just to hold it together, because you never put rivets in the middle of the stitching, because it will cut them off and it'll become undone and fall apart. So that's why leather work like that doesn't work. And here I'm bringing out the heavy duty stitching machine, a Chinese shoe patcher, but it does a great job with thicker leather up to 1/2 inch, and this is perfect for this project. It's a hand crank machine and it works really good. I've done so many projects with this little machine, and I don't mind using it once in a while, because the hand stitching takes a while. It's almost the same work in the sense of saddle stitching. I don't mind doing either one, but with thicker projects, it's just best to use the machine. And I'm not gonna go through the whole process of doing one stitch at a time, because I have to be careful with this, so that the line stitching and my stitching get together as linear as possible. Here I'm almost done. I'm just doing the last stitch. Actually, I already did it. Ready to cut the thread so that I could start evening out the ends, so that the loops and the saddle stitches, not saddle stitch, well, it's similar to the saddle stitch, but so that it locks properly and it doesn't become undone. Here I'm just making sure that the threads are properly lined up, that I didn't go crooked, tying up the ends so that when I cut them off and burn them, it stays tight and even on both ends. And here's my beeswax mixed with other oil, so that it becomes water resistant and it doesn't become a stiff leather, depending on if they have a lot of use for it on the sun, outdoors. It'll protect it from some moist and water. Even if it gets dipped in water, just let it dry out. It won't damage or ruin the leather. This is the third protectant that I use, because at the beginning the leather sheet also provides protection for the sun, water, outdoors activities, and so on. So here I'm just doing the edges as well, so that's the main thing, because if moisture or water gets in there and it doesn't dry properly, it'll take years before it gets ruined. But it's not good to just leave it exposed and open like that. Yes, I use those cans that I used to chew and do my dipping with for my containers, but here's the original World War II sheet and the finished one, which I'm really happy compared to the first one as far as the color, but it's the same exact measurements. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate if you subscribe, like, share this video. Like I said, I'm thankful for those soldiers that fought for our freedom. Thank you and have a great day.